Swimming in the blue is when you are swimming in clear blue water with no physical features around you. It's very easy to become disorientated and not know which way's up, which way's down. I'm Lorna Bend, and I'm a diver. Although I don't know if to call myself a diver anymore. When I was 16, we went to Palau. And that was my first overseas trip in my life. Nothing that I've ever seen. Like little floating islands. It literally looked like a movie. It was beautiful. The next morning, we checked our air in our cylinders and we got dressed and we hopped on the boat. We went to a dive site called Orange Beach. Nothing that I've ever seen. The animal life, it was spectacular. There was a giant turtle. It was so fat. Some sharks. I love sharks, they're my favorite animal. The next dive site was Palelu. It was my uncle's 1000th dive. I was so proud of him. So we picked out a Hawaiian shirt and a Hawaiian hat for him to wear. It was so funny. Our dive guide said it was going to be a wall dive. We were like, sweet, that's easy. Typically with wall dives is you descend and then you go up and down the wall and then you get back on the boat and go home. My uncle, he had a notepad. We wrote on it because we were taking photos being funny underwater with his Hawaiian shirt and hat. We were confused of what was going on. We were swimming in the blue for 14 minutes. That's too long for a wall dive. The depth that we were in was so deep that you couldn't even see the bottom. And I think that was the scariest part because you couldn't see what was under you or what was around you. I looked at my uncle and we're just questioning each other of what was going on. We looked at our dive guide and he was looking side to side and trying to figure out, I guess, where he was meant to be going. He had such a big reputation too. He had 10,000 dives in Palau. He was a master. I just remember grabbing my uncle's hand and swimming with him. Suddenly, the dive guide turns around and tells us to ascend. When we reached the surface, it took us a few moments to realize that the boat was gone. We waited 5 to 10 minutes before realizing that the boat wasn't coming back for us. I feel like everyone was kind of in their own heads and not really talking to each other, but just kind of figuring out in their own way of what was going on. At the 1 hour mark, we hooked each other with our bungee cords and reef hooks so no one would drift away. I just remember thinking after every hour how much I miss my family and how much I didn't want to be there. Really wanted them to know was that I loved them. It was such a long wait. And then when we finally heard a plane, it was a huge relief. We kind of knew maybe that's for us. But then again, we didn't know. There was just so many questions and no answers being thrown around. And I feel like that's the hardest thing. Looking at this plane and going, actually, maybe that's not for us. Maybe they're not looking for us. Maybe no one is looking for us. The most frightening part was not knowing how we were going to die. We didn't know if we were going to drown or die from dehydration, or if we were going to get eaten by a shark. Like, I had an hour and a half left of sun. When it hits nighttime, you don't get found. Like, it's so incredibly hard to be found at nighttime. So at that point, we kind of were just thinking, this is it, this is the end.
Boat? Oh.
Someone yelled out, "There's a boat."
Oh, boat. Oh.
It was just a huge relief. When I saw that boat, I didn't press stop on my camera, I just dropped my camera and kept swimming. I was crying, and I just remember that my heart was pounding so fast. It feels like I should have died that day, that we all should have died that day. Things like that just don't happen to you. When you hear stories about accidents happening, it's always someone else, it's never you. So for it to happen to me and my family, it was just too surreal. I try to live each day as if it was my last, but always in the back of my mind, I still feel like I'm floating to nowhere, waiting to be rescued.